Hello fellow anime enjoyers, my name is Yan and today I'll present you the best Spring 2024 anime tournament you'll ever see. I decided to make this because I won't be watching any sequels this season and I have no idea which anime I'll enjoy more, so I wanted to try this new format to be more exciting instead of a regular ranking video. This will obviously be my personal opinion, but if this works, next season I could also let you guys vote and decide with me the winner of this amazing competition. Let's go straight to the point, cause this is gonna be very big. How will it work? Good question, dear follower. Allow me to explain. This tournament will be divided into 4 main rounds, a big group phase and 3 eliminations. In the group phase, I ordered the anime into 4 groups by airing date. After every anime in that group has its first episode released, I'll choose 2 of them to advance to the next round, based only on the first impression and impact. Then, after I do this with all groups, I will also save a wildcard from all the eliminated anime in the group round, but that will only be used later. After that, we jump into the first elimination round, a few weeks later, when all anime have reached episode 4. At this point we can already start judging them in more detail, so the duels will work with a point system. I'll evaluate each anime on a scale of 1 to 5 in the following parameters: story, characters, visuals, music, and enjoyment. And then I'll add up all those points and the anime with the highest score in each duel will advance to the next round. The semifinals start after episode 8 airs. The system here will be quite similar, but this time the enjoyment will count for double points. The 2 anime that win their duels will have a place in the final. Meanwhile, after the semifinals, we're gonna get the wildcard we saved in the beginning and choose another wildcard from every single anime that lost until this point. Out of those 2, I will choose one to also join the final. Then, in the end, we have the last 3 anime, the epic super final. And in this final round, after the anime reaches the end or the end of the first cour, I'll decide the winner with a single score from 1 to 10, my final score. With all the rules explained, let's start, shall we? Group phase. Group A. Spice and Wolf. I'm not the biggest fan of the original anime. I rated it a 7.5 out of 10 if I remember correctly, which isn't bad, but also not enough to make me want to watch more. I didn't even get to watch the second season before this one started because I had other priorities. As for this remake, it doesn't seem to change that much. I didn't dislike this beginning, but I do think it's the weakest part in the original as well, so we'll have to see how it progresses. This anime is just about this guy who buys and sells things and gets the monies in return, and this girl, fox girl, whatever, that joins him after escaping this wheat.
It should have been me, not him!
Bartender. Another remake also in the same group, but this time I didn't watch the original, so I'm going into it mostly blind. The only thing I know is that he's a bartender, but after actually watching the anime, I was positively surprised. I wasn't sure if I wanted to give it a chance, cause it looked boring as hell, but somehow it manages to entertain fairly well. Overall, it has a pretty chill and lighthearted vibe, which is a good point when done well, which seems to be the case. If it doesn't get repetitive, it could be a contender to not be dropped. Astronaut. Right off the bat, the trailer looked very chaotic in a funny way, so I had higher expectations than I should have, because unfortunately, it kind of sucks. It's a generic comedy anime about an alien girl, and because of that alone, it already loses points, cause I'm not into anime alien girls. I'm also not the biggest fan of the visuals, even if I thought otherwise when I decided to watch it. I especially didn't like this dog. God's Games We Play. I started watching this with very low expectations. If I were to describe it, I'd say it's a mix between No Game No Life and No Game No Life, but without the Isekai part. After Liar Liar, I was expecting absolutely nothing, especially considering even my anime list gave this a low rating, and my friends said it was disappointing. Thanks to that, it ended up being quite surprising, and by that I mean instead of being terrible, I just think it's average. The animation was definitely not the strongest point. I don't think I'll care enough to watch it for much longer, but who knows? Train to the End of the World. This jumped onto my radar not long before it started airing, and it was one of the animes I was most curious about. I'm still, to be honest, because the first episode was insane. insanely good. It's about how 7G internet changes the world forever. Quite literally, it distorted the world on a severe level, turning some people into animals, making others go crazy, and changing the terrain and distances between places on the planet. I think the comedy is very on point and fast-paced, but still natural, which is something more subjective, but to me it was amazing. It has so much potential, and I really pray to every god that it goes all out and works well. The quantity of different adventures, settings, mysteries, characters, creatures, and situations they can create using the premise of a bunch of girls traveling alone in a train along a crazy transformed world is something I never knew I needed. In the end, I think this group was fairly easy to pick the two anime to advance, unlike some of the other groups we're gonna cover later. First of all, I wanna eliminate Astronaut right off the bat, because it was probably the least interesting one here, and the comedy didn't hit me unfortunately. I'll also have to say goodbye to God's Games We Play, because it has quite a few big flaws and it feels a bit generic. Now we're down to 3 anime: Trains, Wolves, and Bartenders. The first one of them that we'll go through is Train to the End of the World. So this is the first anime to advance from our group phase. I had to. I just think it has massive potential, and the first episode was a banger. That means either Spice and Wolf or Bartender will make it to the quarterfinals. The battle of the remakes. And the second qualifier is Bartender Glass of God. Congratulations! I don't know why I built such a suspense. The answer was quite clear, but oh well. I like doing this. Group B. High Speed Étoile. Being a racing anime, this was probably one of my most hyped anime when it was announced. And then they released the trailer, so my hopes went down drastically. I especially didn't like the character designs, to be honest. Then they released the episode, and they really like messing with my feelings, cause it was actually good. It reminds me a bit of playing car and Formula 1 games on my PlayStation and having some AI cars compete with me and my friends. I feel like the competitive aspect here will be a bit strong, which was lacking a bit in Overtake a few seasons ago. Oi Tombo. Boring visuals, it looks a bit older than it should, with the designs and the art style. The premise of a man who seems to be a pro at golf, going to an island to work and finding a very promising young player excites me absolutely 0%. What are they gonna do? Make a tournament on that island that seems to have a total of 50 people or less? And even if they decide to just change the setting in the future, I don't care enough about golf to wait until that, and I'm sure it won't satisfy me in the slightest as a slice of life. I just couldn't care less. Might be the worst anime of the season until now. Jellyfish Can Swim in the Night. It's definitely one of the best produced anime until now, with very cool and clean animation, a nice introduction to interesting characters with cool objectives. However, it's cringe. Some parts are so cringe, I'm sorry. I just have to pause the episode, go away, breathe in, wait a minute, and get back to it. Tonari no Yokai-san. It started off slow and I wasn't thinking much of it. It looked like a mid-slice of life with some supernatural elements sprinkled here and there, which could be fun, but it's not really my thing. That's what I thought until around the end of the episode, when I realized there's also gonna be some mystery involved. It has the potential, but I'm still a bit skeptical, since I don't know how much are they going to dive into that aspect. Himitsu no Aipri. I have no idea why I decided to watch this. I'm clearly not the target demographic for this kind of anime, but I decided to give it a chance anyways, cause you never know until you try it. Or maybe you do. It's as bad as I expected. Even for this type of anime, I thought it was a bit forced and convenient. But yeah, can't say much, because even if it wasn't, I would probably not enjoy it anyway. That's the end of Group B, and where the problems start showing up. But first, let's get rid of the obvious answers. Oi Tombo and Himitsu no Aipri are officially down. Sorry to the 2 fans that might be watching this video, but there's no way I'll keep watching those 2. Now there's the big problem, the other 3. Jellyfish, Yokai-san, and High Speed Étoile. They're all around the same level for me, so it's gonna be quite a difficult choice. I chose the ones that I think will probably be better in the long run, and that means the last eliminated one is I speed it well. That means Tonari no Yokai-san and Jellyfish Can Swim in the Night are advancing to the next round. And now that means I get to do something very epic, which is the random draw to see who will fight who between the first two groups. Let's see which one of these will go against Train to the End of the World. And it's Tonari no Yokai-san, which means the Jellyfish anime is going against Bartender. So this is where we're at right now. Let's go to the next group before we run out of time. Group C. Grandpa and Grandma turn young again. Imagine your grandparents turn young again. What would you do? There's only one right answer in this anime, so be careful. Despite the sussy family interactions, the one joke this anime has gets old in a few minutes, so I definitely can't see this feeling fresh after 12 episodes. Besides that, it doesn't look very high quality, almost like those prints people take of background characters when they make funny faces. Blue Archive. Cute girls with guns is a recurring theme, one that I barely ever enjoy. For a game adaptation, it does a good job in the visual aspect, so the fans automatically gave this a 10 right after episode 1, which made this start with an astonishing 8.30 score. I didn't like it though, but even before it started, I thought it would get what I call the Art Knights effect, starting with a very high score above 8 and slowly going down every episode until it's around 7. Mission Yozakura Family. I once had hype for this when I wanted to read the manga, a long time ago, but now it's kind of gone. Maybe Spy Family and Buddy Daddies killed my motivation to watch any other spy anime, but I just don't think the premise speaks to me that much. Besides that, I also got a bit tired of school romance anime, so those two factors may have combined to make this anime mid. For me, of course. On top of that, it's gonna be 27 episodes long. Unnamed Memory. Engi is back, but this time with a fine anime. Not very amazing, still using the same generic medieval setting that I'm quite tired of, but the challenges in the tower from this first episode were very cool, and there wasn't any specific thing that put me off until now. I have absolutely no idea if I like the rest of it, but as of now, it seems okay. Chillin' in another world with level 2 super cheat powers. The title explains it all. A generic fantasy isekai with an OP protagonist just like any other from every season until now. It goes like your average isekai. The main character is summoned into another world to defeat the demon lord, but oh no! He's actually very weak and he doesn't have any powers. But wait! After they treat him badly, he suddenly gets the most OP powers in the world. Also, racism is bad, by the way. Go, go, Loser Ranger! I never watched Power Rangers, and that's not really my style of anime, but this one takes a slightly different approach and seems to be executing it quite well. It focuses more on the villain side of the story, where the bad guys had their leaders defeated and are now forced to pretend to fight the Rangers every week, just for them to get fame and make a spectacle. Of course, they aren't happy with that, so one of them decides to try destroying them from inside. The animation looks good and I like the emotion and the characters, so I'm looking forward to this one. And here ends another group, but there's still the most important part, choosing who advances to the next round. I'll start with eliminating two again, Blue Archive and the Grandparents anime, the ones I least enjoyed. We'll also say goodbye to Chillin' in Another World, as I feel like I've seen that anime more times than I actually have seen isekais in my entire life. Now that we're down to 3, to keep this more exciting, I'll tell you now the ones that pass. And the first one to qualify is... Go Go Loser Rangers! Now, between Unnamed Memory and Yozakura Family. And the last one to qualify from Group C is... Unnamed Memory! That means it's a goodbye to Yozakura Family. How sad. Now only one group left, and we can finally choose the wild card and advance to the next round. Group D. Mysterious disappearances. The only mysterious disappearance of this episode was the knee. Just kidding. I won't copy the joke my friend did before. Mystery anime like this with a bit of horror aren't that common, so we gotta appreciate what we get. I'm not the biggest fan of this kind of supernatural anime with mystical elements, but mysterious disappearances seems interesting enough and the main character makes me a bit curious to continue watching. I don't think it will be amazing or anything, but it could still surprise us. The Many Sides of Voice Actor Radio. An anime about lesbian voice actresses. What could go wrong? I wasn't planning on watching this, but due to external forces, I found myself starting the episode. In the end, it was okay, I guess. Nothing outstanding and it doesn't speak to me that much, but it was still a bit entertaining to watch. Not sure if I'll care enough to watch an entire cour of this though. Rinkai. If you're already familiar with this channel, you know that I really like racing anime and competition in general, but unfortunately this one doesn't really give us anything. It feels so low quality, just like a nothing burger, but even without the bread, just literally nothing. I can only think of one type of person who would give this a 7 at max, and that's the hardcore feminine bike racing fan, which probably isn't the most common anime watcher, so I'm struggling to see the point of this anime. The races aren't exciting, the CGI is sussy, the characters aren't very outstanding, and it leaves you feeling absolutely nothing. Kaiju number 8. Now we're talking. Another dark shonen with similar vibes to Chainsaw Man, Attack on Titan, Jigokuraku, etc. I like this kind of anime, to be honest. This one doesn't seem to be an exception, so I'm happy to have another very good anime this season. Showing in more detail a bit of the other side of fighting kaijus and what happens to them after they're killed was something very nice and quite different in my opinion. I don't dislike the character designs as opposed to many people, and I also really like the soundtrack. I think we're in for a ride, cause this definitely exceeded my expectations. The New Gate. This is the most generic, average, mediocre, trashy, self-insert Sword Art Online copy teenage fantasy isekai I've seen in a while. And I like it. I know I complain a lot about anime being generic, since usually those annoy me quite a lot, but this one surprisingly doesn't. It has everything to fail, but still manages to be enjoyable, and it doesn't hold back with the premise it wants to give. Not saying I'll probably love this or even watch it all the way through, but I guess you could say it's my guilty pleasure of this season. Whisper Me a Love Song. We finally reached the last anime of this season, let's go! My friend Sumi made me watch this. Yeah, I'm gonna expose him like that, it's his fault, otherwise he would call me homophobic again in the comments. Anyways, lesbians, woohoo! I won't spoil anything, but the main girls have skill issue in understanding what loving something means. It was nice. Not really wow, and I was a bit disappointed with the visuals, but it's fine I guess. Now, let's end this group round once and for all, with the last few chosen ones. First, I'll cross out the only one I really didn't like, and that was Rinkai, sadly. And I'm sorry Sumi, I guess I can't help but be homophobic. I'll have to take away both anime with lesbians here. We're down to 3 choices, once more. This part was a bit more complicated, but in the end, due to the lack of potential, I'll say goodbye to The New Gate. That means Kaiju number 8 and Mysterious Disappearances are sailing through. Let's make a draw to see which one will go against Loser Ranger. And we have Kaiju number 8. Now for the first wild card, remember, I can choose one and only one anime from the eliminated ones. And I'm divided between 4 of them at the moment, the ones I think could have the biggest potential for me to enjoy in the next episodes. Spice and Wolf, High Speed Étoile, The New Gate and Whisper Me a Love Song. But in the end, the one I chose was... Let me drink water first. High Speed Étoile. I really hope this won't be a mistake. And now let's take a look at what the quarterfinals will look like. We have Train to the End of the World against Tonari no Yokai-san, Bartender against Jellyfish Can't Swim at Night, Kaiju number 8 against Loser Ranger, and Mysterious Disappearances against Unnamed Memory. And also High Speed Étoile as the wildcard. Now I just have to wait a few weeks and then record the duels after episode 4 of each anime.
3 weeks later.
We're back for the first elimination round. Let me remind you how it works. 2 anime compete to advance to the semi-finals by getting the biggest score after adding 1 to 5 stars in each parameter. Story, characters, visuals, music, and enjoyment. Also, don't worry about spoilers, cause I won't give any. Let's start with Train to the End of the World against Tonari no Yokai-sen. Beginning with our favorite anime about trains, its story isn't the most complex, but also not the most common, leaving area for an immense creativity, and they can basically go all out and do anything they want with this premise. And for a mystery anime in a post-apocalyptic warped world, that's amazing. Reminds me a lot of Infinity Train, one of my favorite cartoons of all time. I'm giving this 4.5 stars. As for the characters, their designs aren't anything extraordinary, and there isn't any of them that stands out that much to me, but they're all enjoyable and fulfill their roles perfectly fine. I also really like that in this anime the dialogues are very fast, in a slightly random and bruh moment way. It fits the vibe and the setting very well, I don't know how to explain. 4 stars for characters. I'm not an expert in animation or anything close to that, but I think it serves the premise and doesn't distract in any way. There are some very cool parts, but it could have been elevated slightly more in the atmosphere. I can't really complain about anything though. Now the music, which is a bit subjective cause, surprise surprise, I have a personal taste, wow! I quite like the opening and the ending, even though they're not really my style, but some of the OSTs were very good and elevated the ambience a lot. 3.5 as well. Last but definitely not least, there's the enjoyment. I have to say I'm really loving this anime. It's exactly what I want from a seasonal anime. It does what it needs to in a different and creative way. Nice comedy, fast-paced, original anime, doesn't have any bad aspects, it's just very good. 4.5 stars. Adding up everything, we end up with 20 points. Now it's Rival, Tonari no Yokai-san. The story is fairly simple compared to the former. It's not that big of a deal since the anime is a supernatural slice of life. Even like that, it still has quite a good mystery and divides the main stage between different characters to keep it less boring. 3.5 stars. There are a lot of characters and most of them are nice. Their personalities fit well into this more light-hearted and calming rural atmosphere, but still including some darker sides. It leaves a lot of open space for unique designs since they're yokais, but I don't feel like they went an extra mile with that, even though it's good enough. The main character cries a bit too much though, it gets a bit annoying after a while. 3.5 stars. The style is a bit different than normal, which might keep some people from watching it, but it looks quite clean and doesn't seem to have many issues. It's not premium though, it doesn't have epic fight scenes and amazing Sakuga, but it doesn't need that anyways. 3.5 stars. Again. The music is good, I really like the opening, it's probably one of my favorites of the season with that chill vibe that reminds me of Banish from the Heroes Party opening. The ending isn't my favorite, although it's still within the theme of the show, so I won't complain much. 3 stars. And now for my favorite part, the enjoyment. I like how it fulfills well that wholesome but mysterious and occasionally dark theme that it teases. This doesn't deserve a 7.05 score at all. 3.5 stars. And to no one's surprise, we end up with Train to the End of the World advancing to the next round, winning with 20 points against 17 from Tonari no Yokai-san. Our next duel will be Jellyfish Can Swim in the Night versus Bartender Glass of God. Let's start with Jellyfish Can Swim in the Night. The story is also simple until now, but well executed and charming. I usually don't like anime about bands and idols that much, but I quite enjoyed this one, mainly due to the characters and other factors, so I'll settle with 3 stars because that's not the best point of the anime anyways. The characters though really shined for me. Yes, they can be quite cringe every now and then, but they're very likable and have distinct and dynamic personalities. A VTuber, an idol, an artist, and a musician. What better combination could you ask for? I wish I also had a team like that for my videos. 4.5 stars. In terms of visuals, Dogakobo is once more showing that they can make something very clean and with an identity. The colors are very nice and it's shiny and aesthetically pleasing. I wouldn't expect anything less from their 50-year special project. 4.5 stars. Music isn't really a highlight here for me, which is sad because it's an anime about music. Usually this theme doesn't appeal to me that much because the genre of the music isn't what I prefer listening to. It's not that bad, but I couldn't really care less to be honest, so 2.5 stars. I've been really enjoying the themes and the laid-backness mixed with some drama that this anime is giving us. I can relate quite a bit to some areas and yeah, I don't have much to say here. 3.5 stars. 18 points to Jellyfish. Now it's Rival, Bartender Glass of God. Just like the former, the story is very simple. As the title implies, it's about bartenders.
Oh my god!
Trying to be the best bartender ever by telling the clients random complicated things that make it seem like whiskey has more feelings than me. I guess it's nice to people who care about cocktails, but meh. 2.5 stars. The characters are also simple, but fun and effective. They're likable enough, however, besides the main characters, I don't care that much about what happens. 3 stars. The visuals are also fine here. Bruh, I feel like this is going to be the definite fine anime here, to be honest. I like how they show the bartenders preparing the cocktails, that's peak Sakuga, but unfortunately it's missing more action. There hasn't been any fight scene yet. How am I supposed to fit my shonen lover teenage brain? 3 stars. Music? Oh yeah, I guess it also has that. To be honest, the opening and the ending are so forgettable that you could play both of them right now and I wouldn't be able to tell where they're from. The OST? I can't even remember if it has an OST. It just doesn't stick. 2 stars. If you're expecting me to save this in the enjoyment, you're wrong. It's what I said above, basically. It doesn't get boring, but also doesn't get exciting. It's enough to entertain and to spend some time, but 12 episodes might just be a little bit too much. I don't know, 3 stars. We have a clear winner, which is Jellyfish Can Swim in the Night, which is facing the Train anime in the semifinals. In our third duel, Go-Go Loser Ranger faces Kaiju number 8 in one of the most awaited battles of the century. Kaiju's premise isn't groundbreaking, but the way they execute it is fresh enough and it's the dark battle shonen formula that I quite like, so I'll give it an acceptable 3.5 stars. I have been changing my opinion about the characters quite a lot since the first episode. At first, I thought it would be refreshing to have someone a bit older as the protagonist, but turns out he acts like a 16-year-old anyways, so it doesn't change anything. And the new characters introduced later, especially this blonde girl, are terribly annoying and just make me want to punch someone. 2.5 stars. The animation is good enough. Not the peakest visuals as some were expecting, but still better than most stuff airing right now, at least in my opinion, 4 stars. Now here's the part where a lot of you might disagree with me, but I think the opening and the ending are very catchy, and the OST is quite good. I see a lot of hate mostly towards the opening, but to that I just say 4.5 stars. Let's wrap this up with how much I cringed with the terrible humoristic timing and the annoying characters and stupid dialogue. I still enjoy the genre and the possible world building, it keeps me very interested, but it's difficult to ignore all the negative parts unfortunately. 3 stars. Loser Ranger. I'm not the biggest fan of Ranger anime, but this one gives it a twist. The villain's bound to break the Rangers from the inside. Yeah, that's right, the so-called heroes that fake battles with the poor enslaved villains has gone too far. This story was well thought of, even if it's a bit derivative, but it's still executed pretty nicely. 4 stars, no doubt. Some characters are a bit cartoony, but not in a cringe way. I think it combines that in a more teenager-orientated way, giving it an edgy feel, but without being too much. It's one of those cases where you can really like both the heroes and the villains, and sit back and watch the entire world burn. 4 stars again. I also really like the visual style here, even when they use some 3D, which is not that often, but some parts look very good and intense when they have to. The opening also looks different and amazing though. 4 stars once more. Still talking about the opening, it also exceeds in the musical aspect. It's one of my favorites of the season. Not just that, but also one of the best combos of opening and ending. 4 stars. Edgy shows are a bit of a guilty pleasure for me, as long as it's not too much or too gory. This one does that balance extremely well. It's also very consistent in every other aspect, which helps making sure my enjoyment isn't affected by anything negatively. Time flies while watching this. It's unpredictable and engaging. What more could I ask for? 4.5 stars. This means goodbye to Kaiju number 8. Time for our final duel in this round. Mysterious disappearances against unnamed memory. Starting with mysterious disappearances. I don't like supernatural mystery anime like this with random episodical nonsense. I'm not invested at all in this whoa, so creepy, weird place with signs all over. It seems like it wants to be cool and dark, but it just feels boring, basic and not original enough. Not to talk about the random ecchi parts as well. 2.5 stars. The characters are boring. This anime is boring. Everything is boring. I'm getting bored of writing about this anime. 4 episodes in and I care about all the characters exactly the same as when I started watching, which is absolutely nothing. I've seen worse, so I'm giving this only 2.5 stars. Visually is probably where it shows a bit of identity, with those spirals in the eyes and the dark sea theme and its colors, but doesn't go too far from basic anime style. It's good enough though, 3.5 stars. The music also manages to be nice. It's definitely not something I would download to listen to, but some parts in the opening are very cool, but some others feel a bit meh. The ending is okay, 3 stars. As you might imagine, I'm not enjoying this that much, so I hope this doesn't go too far in this tournament. Please let me drop this, 2 stars. I just hope the next anime is good enough to surpass those 13.5 points. Oh, it's a named memory. Generic fantasy alert, 0 points. Just kidding. Kind of. It's your average fantasy anime with a very powerful main character and cute, pretty hot girls around him. This anime feels a bit pointless. It doesn't have a strong premise or story. It's very vague with what it wants to be and where it wants to lead to. 1.5 stars. The characters are simple as well. We have the main guy, amazing of course. The main girl, which isn't that bad, she's fine. Other characters? That doesn't matter. I can't even remember the name of a single character. Oh yeah, farsas Oscar liathin creatos los, my bad. 2 stars. Visually, this is the definition of generic and average. Nothing really shines, but it's also not terrible. It's Studio Engi we're talking about here. The only anime above average they've made is... okay, never mind. 2 stars. Probably the only point where it truly delivers something is in the ending song. It's such a banger. This song is so good I had to save it. Please make more music for actually good anime. I just listened to some of their other works and it's a very cool sound style. I really like it. Let's forget about anything else and give this 4 stars. I'm actually enjoying this slightly more than Mysterious Disappearances, even if in general it's worse. I guess it's just that kind of story made solely for enjoyment without too much thought put into it. 2.5 stars. 13.5 wins against 12. Mysterious Disappearances goes to the semifinals. I'm so excited. Our semifinals will be Train to the End of the World against Jellyfish Can Swim in the Night, and Gogu Loser Ranger against Mysterious Disappearances. Now I just have to wait 4 more weeks until episode 8 for our next bloodbath.
1 eternity later.
Remember that now enjoyment is twice as important for the final score. Let's start with Train to the End of the World and Jellyfish. Story. With the Train anime we have unfortunately been seeing some bad steps, rushing and skipping interesting stops. The development hasn't been very satisfying, to me at least. It seems like it's getting a bit lost and without creativity. Don't get me wrong, it's still very cool and I still hope for a good end, but let's see. 3.5 stars. Jellyfish, on the other hand, never had that much of an epic story, which still is the case. The developments are more about the characters themselves, but other than that, it's been pretty much the same. 2.5 stars. The characters in the Train anime are starting to look a bit flat. They don't have that much personality. I don't feel attached to them, sadly. The dialogue is starting to get a bit annoying and the new characters aren't that likable or fun. The only character I really like is Zenjiro, to be honest. 3 stars. Jellyfish is the complete opposite again. The characters, for me at least, are the main selling point of the anime. They haven't changed much lately in terms of likability, but I'm not really feeling this new girl. She seems sketchy as hell. 4 stars. Visually, the Train anime hasn't introduced us to any new groundbreaking scenes. It doesn't stand out much in a bad way, but it's definitely not perfect and I can't compare this to Jellyfish. 3 stars. Jellyfish continues delivering quality. I think it keeps being very consistent. 4 stars. Jellyfish takes the lead and turns the table around, but there's still music and enjoyment. Let's talk about music now. Katam 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 choo choo train. 3 stars. Jellyfish's opening has been growing on me a bit, but not enough to put this above our almighty choo choo train. I never even for a second considered putting any of the songs from the anime in my playlist, which tells a lot. 2.5 stars. This is very close. I guess the enjoyment will actually decide everything. As for that, both have gone down a bit since the last round. I think the Train anime is losing itself a bit and getting slightly repetitive, but I'm still curious to see the resolution to all of this. And there's still a lot of mystery and fun while watching. 3.5 stars, which counts for 7 points. Jellyfish has a big problem. It's fun while we watch, but when I think of it after, it doesn't make me want to watch more, and I feel like I have to force myself a bit to start the episode. It's a strange situation. But in the end, I'll give this 3 stars, which translates to 6 points. And like that, we welcome Train to the End of the World as our first finalist of this tournament, winning by only half a point. Let's see which one will be our second finalist, Loser Ranger or Mysterious Disappearances. Loser Ranger has a much more established and concrete plotline, and I'm really liking the development. They're taking their time, not rushing stuff, and I'm a big fan of competitive arcs, so this last one has been very cool for me. 4 stars. Mysterious Disappearance is bad. Really bad. The story is so random, pretentious and boring. It feels like a Monogatari wannabe. It has so much unnecessary fan service that it feels like a filler. It just goes too slowly and nothing really impactful happens. 2 stars. Loser Ranger, as I said last time, has very cool characters. The new competitors for official Rangers are also quite likable. The only downside is the new monster character that just acts annoying and feels a bit like a forced obstacle. 4 stars. Meanwhile, in Mysterious Disappearances, I managed to not like a single character. I don't care about any of them, to be honest. I had hopes for the main character, but he barely does anything really relevant. 2 stars. Visually, Loser Ranger is not at its peak. In fact, some scenes look a bit questionable, but I still like this part and it doesn't take away from the anime itself in my opinion, so I think it's still good. 3.5 stars. The real big drop in quality was from Mysterious Disappearances. Now it looks quite cheap. So many still frames, weird shots, no budget animation, it fell off. 2 stars. As you see, this is going to be a landslide win. The music part doesn't change that much from the last round in Loser Ranger, which means I still really like it. 4 stars. That also applies to our other anime, so I'm also giving it 3 stars, cause I honestly have been skipping the opening and the ending from this one. Lastly, enjoyment. Mysterious Disappearances could still win, if they get max score here and Loser Ranger gets 1.5 or less. Which is not happening, because it has been one of my most anticipated anime to watch this season. It's straight up my alley, and I can't help but feel my heart beating faster while I'm watching the episodes. It's genuinely great. 4.5 stars, which turns into 9. Mysterious Disappearances gets a 1.5, I don't care. It's so bad I had to watch episode 8 in 2 times speed. To no one's surprise, Loser Ranger will be the second finalist. Now let's finally give some use to our wildcard. But first, let's choose our second wildcard that will battle against High Speed Étoile for a place in the final. Let's see from all the eliminated anime which ones I didn't drop yet. Oh. I'm between Kaiju number 8, Jellyfish and Tonari no Yokai-san, the only 3 that are at least decent. Kaiju number 8 has been getting terrible lately, but I still enjoy it for the world building and the concept. Tonari no Yokai-san is still good, but never gets past that line. That's why I'm choosing Jellyfish. Jellyfish just overall seems to have more points of interest compared to the others, which means I have to choose between that or High Speed Étoile. I already talked about Jellyfish enough, so let's see if High Speed Étoile is still as good as I hoped it would be. First of all, the characters are actually extremely dumb. The animation is completely plastic and artificial. Everything outside the races is completely shallow. It doesn't flow naturally. The main character is treated and seen as the most promising person ever for absolutely stupid reasons, and it doesn't work at all. Forget this wildcard crap. Jellyfish is getting to the final right after being eliminated a few minutes ago. We're 1 round away from finding out the best anime of this season. Which one will it be? Train to the End of the World, Go Loser Ranger, or Jellyfish Can Swim in the Night? Let's wait 4 more weeks and find out.
1 eternity later.
Before we end this, please consider subscribing and leaving a like if you're enjoying the video, because this took over 80 hours to make. Also, check out my Discord server, my Twitter and other social medias if you want. It's time. Time for the epic final. I will announce first the 3rd place and its score, then I'll tell you who won and who got 2nd place. And our bronze medal for best anime of the season goes to... Train to the End of the World with a fantastic score of 6.5 out of 10. It's quite sad how this anime fell so hard. It started as an 8.5 and got progressively more convenient, rushed, and empty as it continued. There were also some production issues, as the last episode had to be delayed an entire week. The end was a bit bad. It was too formulaic, and in the last episode, things were just happening for no reason, just because they had to. That leaves us with Jellyfish and Loser Ranger. This is the final battle. The winner is... Loser Ranger with an 8.5 out of 10 score, which means Jellyfish gets the honorable second place with 6.5 out of 10. As you may see, the first place won by a big margin. Loser Ranger kept me interested from beginning to end. There were some better and worse parts, but it never got below an 8. The end was very exciting and good. That cliffhanger for the second season left me wanting more. Jellyfish was quite good in the beginning, but never brought anything very relevant after the first episodes. The drama in the end was a bit whatever, it was fine, but I got a bit tired of the anime itself. Here's how the final ranking would have been if I had done a normal worst to best video, including ONAs, movies, etc. You can see I was very wrong with some decisions in the group phase, but in general this season was terrible for me. Only one single anime above 8 out of 10, and I started more than 25. Also, not wanting to flex, but I was totally right about Blue Archive's score dropping massively in the end. Sorry if the video had some audio quality changes, I couldn't avoid it, because it took me months to finish and record everything, so I had to do it in different places and situations. The tournament wasn't perfect, and I'll definitely improve it next time, but if you want a next time, this video needs to reach 100 likes. Next season I'll do a simpler video, because I can't make something as exhausting as this one every 3 months. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice summer. Bye!